And welcome. I am Deandra Reviews, and this is ASMR Reiki Movie Reviews. Check out deandrareviewsitall.com, where I review entertainment for the light it gives, and you can see my written review of Blue Beetle, of which this ASMR Reiki movie review is completely dedicated to what is deemed the savior, or the newest savior, of the DC universe. So let's just dive on in. Today I'm going to be using my prosperity wand. And if the wands are weird in the spiritual community, I guess maybe it's because everybody thinks they're a witch, they're Sabrina, but they're supposed to be packed with energy. And this one is packed with like little crystals, like lapis lazuli, which means royalty, citrine for creativity. They're supposed to kind of be summoners of energy, and it ends with a clear quartz. And I wanted to do prosperity because this film feels like about the wealth of family. And if there's one thing that Blue Beetle struggles with, is money. He's abundant in every way. He has a fantastic family that absolutely adores him. He just graduated um, with high marks from college, and he is ambitious and charismatic. And Zolo Maridueña is just, if you see Cobra Kai, you know this is a kid who is a superstar. He's Miguel is the heart of Cobra Kai. Miguel and his dynamic with Johnny, and I think that in Blue Beetle, it's so cool to see a superstar and to see somebody who's able to transfer consistently this energy of like, look at me, follow my story, no matter what character I'm being. And Jaime Reyes, I think for me, just represents, I put in the review, he kind of reminds me of like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or Tom Holland as Spider-Man. That just this really sweet boyishness and eagerness to do right in a world that could be so wrong, aka Court Industries. Um, and there's just something about it that I thought, I don't think it is the most innovative uh, film in in the DC or Marvel universe, in the comic book movie universe. I think that it's innovative in the sense it's the first Latino superhero that we've ever had live action, and that's obviously important. And I did enjoy, and this is the importance of having representation behind the scenes as well, with I believe the director's Angel Soto, all the cast and crew, most of them were Latino. It just felt like a movie that represented Latinidad as something beautiful and heartwarming and human. This is about family, and how family holds you down and keeps you safe, and protects you, even if you are protecting the world. And I thought that was so refreshing, because often in comic book films, what you find is, you see there's a little dollar in it and everything. I love this one, and I hope it's making you feel really, really good, because Clear Quartz is all about healing, and we have to heal our relationship with wealth. And one of the ways we do that is by acknowledging how we're wealthy in other aspects, wealthy in family, wealthy in self love, wealthy in intelligence and humor and personality. I mean, money isn't always the easiest relationship to have. It's not easy to have a relationship with your economy, especially if you feel you're always struggling, if you have more bills than you do to provide. And that's definitely a feeling that Jaime has, which explains why he wants to work in court industry, why he wants to just immediately dive into the work world, because his dad brought his family to this country from Mexico, and struggled all his life, even to the point of health issues, having a heart attack, to make sure that they provided. And when you grow up seeing a good human being kind of lose their body because they can't have money, green paper, it it shakes you and it shapes you. And I felt like, going back to the Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, it's so refreshing to see a superhero be a genuinely good person. And I think that's why we love Superman as well. But I think this movie succeeds in the same way as Superman and Lois, which can be seen in the CW, because it's not often in the comic book universe we allow a superhero to have family. Okay, let's do some cord cutting. I want you to find your soul tribe. It's often that, the superhero has been abandoned by their family. They're not talking. They don't really have that many family members. And, they meet somebody who they love, and maybe in a few issues slash decades they'll finally have a baby with Lois Lane. Um, but family's a tricky thing with superheroes, because I think as a writer, and this is where I come in as a writer, relationships complicate things. And, the lesser relationships, um, there's a feeling of, well, uh, it's going to be a little bit easier, right? It's going to be a little easier to handle the character's growth, because they have more relationships with villains than they do people that they love. There's nothing sabotaging them, because love does compromise you. I'm sure there's some times when Superman didn't want to go save the world. He actually just wanted to stay in his kid's birthday party. But what I loved about this movie was that his family was his ground. It was his salvation. They even literally end up saving him at one point. And they didn't challenge his growth. They didn't challenge his capacity to be a superhero. They built it. They encouraged it. And I'm a sucker for family films. I am. Oh my God, I do love family films. It is my guilty pleasure. Give me, what's that movie, Cheaper by the Dozen? Like, give me those films where, like, they're just big family and everybody's loving each other. So I really love that aspect. And for it to be a Latino family, a family that is often not represented, and they were so loving and they were so warm and so funny, as we are. And they just loved him. And I think, like I said, taking on the perspective as a writer, it can feel easier to kind of take out family dynamics, because they're tricky. He's a 22-year-old kid who gets the power of the scarab to do anything. And, would your family actually support you? What does it mean to have, like, alien technology strapped to your back, and then you go home and your dad's like, so how was work? Did you file your documents? You send all your emails, and you're like, I just saved the planet for the 5th time today. But, in some ways, the way when you dive into those nooks and crannies, and you dive into them with love, and you don't see family as complications, but as empowerment, there's something so beautiful and unique to that. And that's what I felt with Blue Beetle. I don't think, again, kid goes to a science industry building and somehow ends up with alien technology or bitten by a spider. It's not the newest. Because often you have to remember, Marvel and DC have always been in competition. Quicksilver, the Flash, just a copy-paste of each other. Blue Beetle, Spider-Man, copy-paste. I mean, they even changed it. I think that's why in some ways they changed it, that he's graduating college and he's not in high school, which is when we originally find Blue Beetle. I think they wanted to separate, because there are notes of Spider-Man. But I think the difference is obviously the Latino representation, but also, when we find Peter, he loses his uncle and all he has is his aunt. This is a kid that has like 20 million family members. He has uncles, aunts, moms, dads, like everybody is backing him up. And there's something really exciting about that, because for a lot of us, I love superheroes. I dream of being a superhero. My fantasy life is based on what I read and what I see in movies, and I try to, that's why I want to curate it and not just let everything enter my energy field. So when I see a superhero have such a big family and their tragedy is grounded in real life issues, like immigration issues, like having, coming from a poor family with a good parent that is overworked, and that challenges their health, those are things that are relatable. And there's something about that element that makes you think, well, maybe I could be a superhero. That's representation too. Seeing parts of you in a character and then that character become exceptional. And it makes you think, well, maybe I can be exceptional. It changes your fantasy of you. And Blue Beetle did that. And I put it in the review. I felt like, let's go. Scrape, clear chords, healing, heal, 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 heal. I felt like with Blue Beetle, one of the things that I was have been feeling in terms of cinema is that it's a battle between indie films and comic book movies. It's not easy, which I think that's why Barbieheimer was so exciting. There was a feeling of like, wow, new options. And they're not, indie and esoteric, but at the same time, they're big enough to be seen, but they're not comic books. They're epic, but there's just felt like something classic theatery to it because now streaming, it feels like you're going to find better content at home. You're going to find a great movie on Netflix versus in an actual theater. And then you add on the prices. It doesn't feel as simple to go to the movies. It feels like an event because prices are high, popcorn, and it just doesn't feel as accessible as it used to be compared to something like Netflix, where even, you tell your friends, come over, let's just watch Love is Blind season 4.